So today we only have a short amount of time, 20 minutes, and I could literally talk for about 2 hours in regards to insights for ArcGIS. So let's get straight into it. Now, to begin, I'd actually like for us all to get out our phones for a second. So just a short quiz, a little bit of fun to get everybody engaged and up and running with insights. We're just going to be using an app in the browser called Kahoot. So all we're doing is just opening up the browser on our phones and just typing in kahoot.it. And if you get prompted to download the app, don't worry about that. There's just a one question quiz today, which won't take very long, and we won't need the app for that. Okay, so when you open up the browser on your phone and type in kahoot.it, you should see the landing page in purple, and you'll be prompted to enter a game pin. Now, it'd be great if everyone in the audience can get involved. I think we had about 106 people in Melbourne join, so just a little bit of fun to get started. So the game pin that you need to enter is 111975. So 111975. Be careful of the naughty nicknames there too. We'll be keeping an eye on those. I certainly had a couple of good ones in my previous presentation. I had one that said, "I'm so bored," so I had to go, okay, well, I've got to have a bit of a chuckle. That was pretty funny, I thought. Okay, so let's have a look at some of those names coming through now. So, oh yeah, wow, good amounts of participants, which is good. Nothing too outrageous there. There was also one, "I love Esri," so I thought that was pretty good. I'll wait till we get to the 100 mark. If you notice that you drop out of the quiz, it's probably because your phone's just closed, so reopen it and you'll come straight back in. Okay, almost there, almost up to 100. One more to go, and I think we'll get started. Right on 99, maybe I could just enter. Ah, there we go. Okay, so people can still enter in as well now too, it's not a problem. Okay, so you can probably gather that the question's regarding insights for ArcGIS. One question, you've got 60 seconds to answer this question, and the time starts now. How would you best describe insights for ArcGIS? So would it be a self-service location analytics tool, a browser-based system of insight, a spatial and non-spatial data mining solution, or all of the above? Now, if you haven't worked with insights before or seen it presented, just have a go. It's just a bit of fun. Just give it your best shot there. So we've got 30 seconds left. The answers are flying in. As soon as all of the answers have been committed, we'll see a score there. We'll see how everyone's gone. I have a feeling everyone will go pretty well. So any second, there we go. We're complete. And there's no surprise there. Awesome. 83, about 83% roughly, or maybe it was more than that, obviously. Of people have got it right. It's a bit of a trick question there, I think, when the answer's all of the above, but Insights actually provides all of the above. So it's a self-service location analytics tool, runs completely within the browser. You don't need any desktop installation whatsoever, and you can work with both spatial and non-spatial data. But none of the answers are incorrect there. It provides all of that capability. Okay, so we can just check that our phones are on silent and pop them away now, because we're going to jump straight into a live demonstration. Okay, Insights is a self-service spatial analytics tool like never before. What you're looking at on the screen is a group of workbooks. Workbooks are where you add data, undertake analytics, and then share the results across your organisation. What we have on the screen here is a data set known as the Global Terrorism Database. This is an open source database sourced from the University of Maryland in the US, and it's designed to depict terror activity over the last 15 years. Insights has got a lot of smart capability built straight into the product. So what Insights is doing for us, it's automatically computing the data types. So it's computing the location field, which is what automatically creates the map card for me. It's computing fields for summary analysis and for charting, and it's also computing the time-based variable as well. Let's have a look at our data over time. And you can see that as I drag the time variable out, only options that are relevant to me are available, making the data mining and analytics process much easier for me. Looking at our data over time, we can see that in 2003 there was a drop in terror activity, with the largest peak being in May 2014. But in addition to map and charting options, Insights also gives us the ability to have a tabular view of the data that we're looking at. So in this example, let's have a look at terrorist groups that can be attributed to the terror activity that we're looking at. So to do that, I can simply drag the group name out, and I can see that I can create a secondary map that will be themed by group. I can create a chart, or I can simply visualize the data as a table. Now, when the table loads, you'll see the total count there, 85,196 records. And as you scroll down through the table, I can see where particular terror activity can be attributed to those particular groups. But Insights 2.0 provides a lot more advanced capability outside of the standard charting and tabular information we're looking at here. So some of the additional capability we've now got at our disposal is advanced charting. So we can go and create tree maps, we can undertake chord analytics, but then we can also look at a variable such as group in a bubble chart. Now, when we render the bubble chart, you'll see that a huge percentage of the data, actually 55% of the data, has an unknown value for attributed terror group. We want to remove those records from the database so we can only see records where attributed terror groups can be linked back to terror activity. To do that, it's a very easy process. We simply apply a filter to the variable. And when I apply that filter, Insights will go back, it will re-render the map, it will represent my chart over time, and it will represent the terror groups attributed to all of that activity. And when the chart loads, you can see that there's no great surprise that it's the Taliban and ISIL that can be attributed to most of the global terror activity. But with Insights, you can do a whole lot more. And this is where the advanced spatial analytics capability comes in. So in this example, I'm going to add some data from my ArcGIS Enterprise deployment, or my portal. In this example, I'm working with a land-based operations layer. You can see there that Insights has automatically computed the location field and created a secondary map for me. And this particular layer is designed to depict Australia's land-based operations on the ground. The layer was created by me, so it's a fictitious layer, but I got the data that relates to the layer from the Defence website. So I got the troop counts and deployment counts from the public-facing website. But some of the things that you can do as an analyst or a data miner or a data scientist within your organisation is you can immediately drag the operational layer where the Australian land-based troops are over the global terror database, and you can run a spatial query. So what this will do when the data returns is give you a representation on the ground of where terror activity has taken place over the last 15 years in relation to where our troops are on the ground. But we can do a whole lot more with this data. So looking at the land-based operations layer, we can actually change the symbol and style types. So if I have a look at the style by personnel, you will see that Insights automatically changes. Give another look at that. You'll see that Insights automatically changes the symbology. So now I'm looking at the data by counts and amounts. So what this shows me now is a representation where we've got our Australian land-based deployments and the largest deployments. And if we hover over the data, you can actually see that it's Operation Okra in Iraq that has our largest troop-based deployment, being 780 troops. It's at this point where we can flip the card to see the data sitting behind the analytics process. And when we flip the card, we can see personnel counts, min, max, and summary statistics. This all helps us in our data analytics workflow. Moving back to the map itself, I can select Operation Okra, and I can reapply my filter. Now, when the filter's complete, now we have the location on the ground where all of the global terror activity has taken place in the last 15 years and our highest troop deployment exists. Now, it's at this point where I'd like to mention a couple of extra tools that we've built in to make your workflow a whole lot easier. So it's at this point where I can add the synchronize extents button or function. And as I zoom in and pan around the map, you'll see that my secondary map moves as my first map does. So now I can zoom in and effectively make the secondary map an inset map to the analytics process. I can remove that synchronization and continue. Now it's at this point where I'd like to do some more analysis in relation to the region where our troops are on the ground. So in this example, I'd like to add another fictitious layer. So this is a field assets layer that I've created. This layer is designed to depict where our troops are on the ground in relation to that operation. Now, as we zoom in, you can see that we've got 3 key troop deployments in Iraq, and one particular deployment, the southern deployment with 100 troops, is in a particularly dangerous area for terror activity. But with insights, we can once again go further. So the data itself has a target type. So the target type will show us who terrorists are targeting at that location. So I can simply drag the target type onto my current global terrorist layer, which will automatically change the symbology. So now we'll be looking at a themed map representing who terrorists are targeting on the ground. I can have a look at those variables, and then I can filter out the military assets. So now what we can see is a map on the ground where terrorists are targeting known military assets, and we have a key troop deployment that's at risk. It's in this scenario where, as an intelligence analyst or a data analyst, you would save your results and share that across your organisation or up to higher command to reroute that troop deployment into a safer region, literally saving lives. But before I go on to the sharing process and how easy it is to expose data across your organisation, I need to take a short amount of time just to mention some important functional capability that Insights provides to you. So some of the powerful analytics capability you get all with Insights, all out of the box, is an action button, or is included within an action button. So when you open up the action button, you can undertake drive time analytics, you can create buffers, you can do spatial aggregations, and many more features, but one of my favourite is data enrichment. So when I present Insights to a lot of our federal government clients, I will pick a location where there's a service site, I'll undertake a drive time analytics, and then I'll go and grab demographic information from our premium online services. So I'll be able to calculate populations within that drive time, or within Insights, or within the existing data and card that we're looking at. You don't have to move outside the interface to do all of that advanced analytics. Now, some other important features. This is brand new to version 2.0, and that's direct integration with Geo Analytics Server. And this is really, really important, because this is where Insights is breaking down silos across your organisation, allowing you to analyse your big data assets along with your relational database assets and the layers coming in from your portal. What we're looking at here is the global terrorist database coming in from Geo Analytics Server, but it's auto-clustering the data on the fly. So it might be a little bit hard to see on the screen there, but what it's actually doing is giving me a count of all those points on the map and the regions and the hexagon bins that are related to most of that terror activity. Now, 100,000 points isn't a big data set, I'm not trying to say that, but certainly have a look at how fast the data itself re-renders on the fly and how you can analyse that. I can query this data, I can create bins, I can create a dashboard, just like what we've been looking at. It's 100,000 points, absolutely instantaneously, without any latency whatsoever, all being powered by that Geo Analytics Server. And as you probably saw with a lot of Flora's presentations, you can be reading in much more data than that. Now, some of the other important functions and features within Insight is the ability to add data from multiple sources, and I sort of just touched on that then. So all the data I've been adding in has been coming from my portal. You can add layers from organisational accounts, that's fine, but what about that use case that we always get in our organisation where someone's just sent a CSV or Excel file with lats and longs in it? You can drag that straight into Insights and it will automatically put that in the map for you. And if the data itself is in a field that Insights isn't automatically computing, you can pick those fields and make that the location field. So you can add that data straight into your analytics workflow. But one of my favourites is the fact that you can add data in from your relational database management systems like Microsoft SQL Server, HANA, and alike. So in this example, I'm adding in some operational layers from SQL Server, and the layer that I'm adding in is a non-spatial layer known as the assets layer. Now, when I add that layer in, you can see the assets database table's been loaded in, and I've got some basic asset counts for the operations. So I've got counts of tanks. But what's a little bit hard to see there is I've actually joined my operational spatial layer with that assets layer. And to do that, I use the relationship view. So having a look at the relationship view, this is where you can build relationships in your data. Insights will automatically compute the unique identifiers. And if there's an incorrect calculation undertaken, you can go in there and modify those joins and then reapply them, and it will join that data together for you. And that's what we're looking at on the screen here. So you can see where the operations layer has been joined with the assets layer, and now I can see a count of the tanks or assets being deployed to each operation. In this example, we're looking at Operation Okra in Iraq, once again. 22 counts of 22 tanks have been deployed to that operation. Any other field in the database table can be presented and joined in the same manner. Like I mentioned before, Insights is literally breaking down barriers in how you analyse and pull data together from multiple sources. There's one other thing that I'd like to mention there quickly. We're running out of time a little bit. Another important note, you've probably seen this before, is the analysis view. So the analysis view is sensational when you want to see a model of the analytics process that you're undertaking. This is where you can go in and add data, update records, maybe make a modification to the workflow process, and then share that workflow out with other users, other analysts in your organisation, making that analytics process much easier to follow and reuse. Going back to our page view, it's time now to brief our results. But what I'd like to do very quickly, and I can zoom across the page so the display on this screen is not quite what I expected, so I can zoom out there so you can actually see what I'm looking at on the screen here now. What I'd like to do is spend a short minute just highlighting what we've done in literally 10 or 11 minutes with Insights. We've pulled in a very dense global terrorist database. We've been able to see over time when terrorist activity was at its peak. We've been able to see the attributed groups relating back to that activity. We're able to see where our land-based operations relate to that activity, and then we're able to see where our troops are on the ground, are at risk. There's hotspots where terrorist activity are, and those troops need to be redeployed into regions that are much safer. Now, to share that analytics workflow, to share that process up to higher command or across the organisation, you simply share the page, and that will fall within your existing security model, only being available to users in your organisation who are allowed to see and access that data. So what I hope that you take out of this presentation is that Esri have introduced a whole new user experience when it comes to working with big data and breaking down silos in your organisation. Thank you. I've just got a couple of important slides to go through before we move into questions. Okay, so we've got enough time there. I've got to be pretty quick. So the solution today, Insights for ArcGIS 2.0. I'm running the latest of all the technology. Geo Analytics Server 10.5.1, ArcGIS Enterprise 10.5.1. Everything is sitting in Microsoft Azure. So we're running out of time, are we?
We've still got some time.
Everything's sitting in Microsoft Azure. We're cloud agnostic, so the same templates to set up our technology in Microsoft are also available in AWS, Amazon Web Services as well, and there's a link there to access the data itself. Licensing, it's a premium app. It does require ArcGIS Enterprise 10.5+, so you need that deployment to run Insights. Bundles start at 5, or you can buy larger bundles if you're a bigger organisation, and you can add additional 1+ users as required. Resources, an excellent page. The product, I hate to say to our users, oh, just go and have a look at the product page. I feel like it's a bit of a cop-out. The great thing about the product page for Insights is it has insights by vertical, so by industry. So insights for local government, insights for utilities, and there's videos that you can follow there to have a look at how your data is analysed with Insights. So I thoroughly would encourage you to have a look at that site. Linda Beale, the product manager for Insights, has created a lot of those resources. One of her latest videos runs through Cord Analytics, which does entity analytics and joins entities and networks together. And then there's a recording of my presentation today, an iteration of that presentation, up on the Esri Australia YouTube channel as well. Training, there's a new training course, Get Started with Insights for ArcGIS. It's a one-day course, so if you've got analysts, data miners, data scientists in your organisation and you want to introduce them to Insights, we have that course. And I hope that this presentation shows you the importance of getting on this new wave of big data, self-service, spatial analytics. Thank you.
So we have time for a couple of questions. Does anyone have any questions for Matt? And if you could keep your hand up, then we can get a microphone around to you quicker.
Hi, I was wondering, so you can generate summary statistics and graphics of your tabular and non-spatial data, but can you, for example, run a model, for example, like time series forecasting, and have that graphically displayed as well, based on the data that's being pulled into Insights?
So the tabular data will appear in the model view or the analysis view, it will, but you can't, are you sort of talking about building an animated model maybe, for example, or something like that?
Not so much an animated model, but if for example, I want to do more than just generate summary statistics, so I want to use some time series forecasting method, is that functionality available within Insights? And if not, can I call on another program to do that?
It's not available within Insights. How I would do that, I'd probably undertake that process at sort of effectively the data tier level. So undertake that process, write the results of your process to a database or data format itself, and then bring that into Insights for analysis. Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions?
Just a quick question on licensing.
Yep.
When you create the Insights cards and publish it,
yep,
what license level do you need to actually view that content?
I'm actually happy you asked that, because that was one of the questions I was hoping I'd get asked. So when it comes to allocating a license to your Insights users, to do that, which I'll get on to answering your question, to do that you simply jump into your enterprise deployment, which is what I'm doing here. So let's say, for example, I'm trying to give an Insights access to yourself. So I jump into my portal, I'm the administrator of it, select my organisation and manage licenses. So this is where I would go in here, and you can see that I'm using one license, one of 5. This is where I would add yourself as a user and allocate that user to you. But I would have to do that for you to use Insights as a power user, just like I was then. So with Insights, to do all of the analytics that I was just doing, you need to be a level 2 user, and you get allocated your license via that method. If you want to be a viewer, that's fine, but you'll just see the results that are created within Insights. And within Insights, you can also share results to the public as well. And they will see effectively what we were looking at on the screen, but they just won't have the controls that we have to make modifications to the workflow.